The stars burned with silent fury. For centuries, the galaxy had been a stage of endless conflict. Nations rising, empires collapsing, worlds reduced to dust. Every system had its armies, its champions, its causes. Every race had spilled blood across the void for pride or survival. Every race. Except one. Earth stayed out of the war. While the Khar'Tak Dominion waged campaigns across the spiral arms, while the Seraph clans turned their moons into fortresses, and while the Var Collective devoured lesser worlds in the name of progress, humanity stood apart. They had learned long ago what war cost. From orbit, Earth looked serene. Blue oceans gleamed like glass. Cities glowed faintly beneath clouds that carried songs instead of sirens. Humanity had walked through ages of war and emerged weary, wiser. The people of Earth built gardens where there were once trenches, and museums where they once built weapons. They did not forget violence. They simply refused to worship it anymore. Captain Elena Ward stood on the viewing deck of the peace vessel Solace, her hands clasped behind her back as the stars drifted by. She had seen those same constellations as a child, studying old history books, wondering if peace was ever truly possible. Now she commanded a fleet that carried medicine instead of missiles. Behind her, Dr. Ishan Rao adjusted a console, his dark eyes reflecting the faint glow of distant nebulae. "Supply pods are ready, Captain," he said softly. "We'll reach the Serath border within 3 hours. Their wounded need plasma, antibiotics, and—" He hesitated. "Hope, I think." Elena smiled faintly. "Then let's deliver all 3. To outsiders, the Solace seemed fragile, an unarmed ship traveling through war zones. But its strength lay in what it represented. For 50 years, Earth's peace fleet had crossed the galaxy carrying aid, shelter, and negotiation. They were the symbol of neutrality, the quiet voice amid the chaos, and the galaxy tolerated them, because even the most violent empire needed medics and diplomats. Yet beneath that quiet grace, there was something unspoken about humans. Something other species didn't quite understand. They mistook kindness for weakness. Elena watched as the stars shifted. "Do you ever think," she murmured, "that the galaxy will understand why we stayed out?" Ishan smiled, adjusting his spectacles, an old Earth relic. "Perhaps not. But understanding isn't the goal. Peace doesn't need applause, Captain. It only needs endurance." He paused, then added, "Still, sometimes I wonder how long peace can last in a galaxy that refuses to rest." Elena turned to him, her expression calm but unreadable. "Then we'll keep standing until they learn. That's our role," the intercom chimed. "Incoming transmission, Captain," said the helmsman. "A Dominion patrol requests identification." Elena sighed quietly. The Khar'Tak Dominion, proud, militaristic, ruthless. Their fleets patrolled every sector like lions guarding invisible borders. "Send our peace credentials," she replied. "We carry medical aid under the Interstellar Accord." Moments later, the reply came, sharp and cold. "This is Commander Saren of the Khar'Tak Dominion. Earth vessel Solace, you are trespassing in secured space. State your intent or be boarded." Ishan's brow furrowed. "Boarded? That's against the Accord." Elena's voice remained calm. "Commander Saren, we carry no weapons. Our cargo is humanitarian. We're responding to a Serath distress beacon, your beacon, static." Then a low growl across the transmission. "Earth always meddling in others' affairs. You heal those we defeat. You preserve the weak. Your neutrality insults strength." Elena's jaw tightened. "We preserve life, Commander." "That's all?" A long pause followed. Then Saren's voice came again, laced with disdain. "Then I advise you, human. Take your fragile mercy and stay on your quiet planet. The galaxy has no need for your softness." The channel went dead. Silence filled the bridge. Ishan exhaled slowly. "Do you think he means it as a warning?" Elena looked out at the stars again. "I think he means it as a threat. But threats don't frighten Earth anymore, Doctor. We've seen worse." Her gaze softened. "Still, remember this moment. Pride always speaks before violence." Outside, the stars continued their eternal dance. The Solace drifted quietly through them, carrying the spirit of a planet that had chosen compassion over conquest. And somewhere in the distance, beyond the reach of their sensors, a Dominion fleet watched the little human ship glide by, its insignia glowing softly like a promise. Earth stayed out of the war. But the war had just noticed Earth. The news broke across the galaxy like a scream in the void. The peace vessel Solace, destroyed. For a full rotation of Earth, no one believed it. Reports were inconsistent. fragments of distress calls floating through the dark. Then came the undeniable transmission. The image of the Solace, aflame against the stars, hull breached, drifting silently into nothing. No survivors. The Khar'Tak Dominion claimed it was an accident. A navigation error, they called it. But every world that had ever seen Earth's ships knew better. The Solace never strayed off course, and on Earth, silence fell heavier than grief. In the Great Hall of Nations, a dome of glass and light overlooking the Atlantic, world leaders gathered in mourning. Flags hung low. No speeches could fill the hollow ache that stretched across continents. Elena Ward's name was whispered like a prayer. Children who had met her during peace missions lit candles by the ocean. The old veterans, who had once vowed that humanity would never fight again, stood in silence, heads bowed not for soldiers, but for healers. The Earth Broadcast Network replayed her last recorded words again and again. "We preserve life, Commander." That's all. Dr. Ishan Rao's colleagues found his last message, sent moments before the destruction. A simple text file titled, "For the Future." It read only 3 words: "Peace needs protectors." General Marcus Hale stood in his office at the Terran Defense Council, watching the storm roll over the Atlantic. He had once led fleets long before peace was restored. He had seen cities burn and friends die. And when the wars ended, he promised himself he'd never order another man into battle. But now the storm outside seemed to echo the one inside his chest. A voice interrupted his thoughts. "General Hale," said Admiral Corin Voss, a grizzled officer whose career had begun in the shadow of Earth's last war. "The Dominion denies all involvement, but our deep space probes captured fragments of the attack. Their energy signatures match Khar'Tak weaponry." "There's no doubt," Hale turned.
His eyes were tired but sharp.
"And the Council?" "They're divided," Corin replied. "Half want justice. The other half want restraint. They say we must uphold the peace Elena died for." Hale's jaw tensed. Peace is not submission. It was never meant to be silence. He walked to the viewport, looking up at the dark sky streaked with lightning. "Do they think we're weak, Corin? After everything we endured?" Corin hesitated. "The galaxy has forgotten what humanity was before peace. Maybe it's time they remembered." Across the stars in the Dominion capital of Khar'Tak, Ambassador Saren stood before the High Council. The chamber was carved from black stone, illuminated by rivers of molten gold that flowed through its floor. "You acted without authorization," hissed the First Chancellor, his silver crest rising in anger. "The humans were neutral." Saren's gaze was unflinching. "Neutrality is a mask, Chancellor. They spread their influence with words instead of weapons. They undermined strength with sympathy. They needed to be reminded of their place." The chamber fell silent. Another counselor spoke. "And if they respond?" Saren's mandibles twitched in amusement. "Respond? With what songs? Kindness? They've abandoned their armies, their fleets. Earth is a garden, not a fortress." But deep in his mind, he remembered something. The calm in Elena Ward's eyes before he ended the transmission. It had not been fear. It had been sorrow. And sorrow, he realized too late, could be far more dangerous than rage. Back on Earth, in the quiet heart of Geneva, the United Terran Assembly convened under emergency order. Outside, millions gathered in silent vigil. The chairwoman's voice trembled as she spoke. "Humanity has endured much. We have chosen peace not out of weakness but out of wisdom. Yet the destruction of the Solace cannot be ignored. We must decide, do we hold fast to silence or do we rise?" For a moment, no one answered. The chamber was filled with the heavy sound of breathing, hearts caught between grief and pride. Then a voice from the back spoke, calm, steady, familiar. It was General Hale. "Madam Chairwoman," he said, stepping forward. "We have built a world worth protecting. But peace is not the absence of struggle. It is the courage to defend what we love without becoming what we hate." He paused, eyes sweeping the room. "We do not seek war. But if the galaxy believes we will not stand, they are mistaken." That night, across every city, the skies shimmered with blue auroras, the energy fields of Earth's long-dormant defense satellites, awakening for the first time in 200 years. From orbit, they looked like halos, and somewhere deep beneath the surface, in a chamber older than the Peace Council itself, ancient systems came online. A soft synthetic voice whispered into the dark. "Authorization recognized. Awakening core directives. I am the Child of Terra." awaiting purpose. Earth had stayed silent for generations. But now, the stars trembled, because humanity had begun to remember. For 7 days the world did not sleep. Across the continent, cities glowed through the night, and not from celebration but from mourning. Candles lined windows, oceans reflected the soft shimmer of remembrance lights, and the names of the fallen from the Solace scrolled endlessly on every public screen. The galaxy watched and waited. Would Earth finally raise its hand? Or would it, as the Dominion predicted, whisper apologies and retreat into silence? In the subterranean command chamber beneath Mount Aurora, General Marcus Hale stood before a table of holographic stars. The system maps rotated slowly. Sectors, colonies, trade routes, a dance of light and tension. Around him sat the highest council of Earth's peace command. Not warriors, but scientists, diplomats, and engineers, all bearing faces worn by loss and thought. At the end of the long table stood Dr. Ishan Rao's sister, Arya Rao, the last living member of the Solace's medical division. Her voice was quiet, but every syllable carried the weight of the galaxy. "My brother believed peace was strength," she said. "He gave his life believing humanity could teach others compassion. But compassion is not surrender. If peace means allowing murder without consequence, then we have betrayed him, and ourselves." Her words hung in the still air. Hale nodded slowly. "Then we agree. Retaliation is not vengeance. It's preservation." A diplomat across the table frowned. "But General, if we strike, the Dominion will answer. They have fleets in every quadrant. They live for war. They will not negotiate." Hale looked up, his gray eyes steady. "Then we don't negotiate. We remind." Outside, in orbit, the world began to move. Long-forgotten shipyards near Luna hummed back to life. Massive hangar doors opened for the first time in generations, revealing vessels that had slept beneath layers of dust. Silent giants built for a war that never came. Their hulls bore no insignia of conquest, only the emblem of a single, ancient word, Terra. From the clouds of Mars rose swarms of drones, silent and silver, each one carrying the same signature, Child of Terra, active node. The AI spoke again, its voice echoing through the command networks, gentle, human-like, eerily calm. "General Hale, awaiting orders. Should I remember who we were?" Hale hesitated before replying. "No, remember who we are, and protect them." Acknowledged. Meanwhile, in the Galactic Core, Ambassador Saren watched the unfolding news from his command balcony. The Dominion's intelligence feeds flickered with human activity. Reconstruction, mobilization, coded transmissions no one could decrypt. His adjutant bowed nervously. "Sir, the humans are awakening old systems. Their signal strength has increased by 80%. Should we be concerned?" Saren scoffed, though unease coiled within him. "Concerned? They're mourning, not marching. Let them prepare their old toys. The Dominion could crush them before their engines warm." He turned toward the great star burning beyond his balcony. They may speak of peace, but they have no stomach for war. But deep down he wondered if that was true. The humans had always been unpredictable. Quiet until pushed, soft until struck. And then, something changed behind their eyes. He had seen that look once in Elena Ward's final transmission. He had ignored it. Now it haunted him. On Earth, beneath a sky alive with auroras, people gathered in the open squares. No orders were given. No propaganda, no fear. Just unity, quiet, vast, and unshakable. Children drew stars on the ground. Veterans stood side by side with poets and teachers. Musicians played softly in the streets. It was not a march of anger. It was a vigil of resolve. From the balcony of the council hall, Chairwoman Lyra Sen looked over the crowd and spoke into the night. "We have always believed peace is our greatest weapon. But peace without courage is just silence. We will not wage war. We will defend life, our life, and the life of every world that dreams of peace. Let that be our answer." And the world answered her not with applause, but with stillness. A stillness so deep, so certain that it shook the air itself. In orbit, the vigilant Dawn, Earth's first reactivated flagship, ignited her engines. The light spread across the atmosphere like sunrise, a quiet declaration that Earth was no longer sleeping. Across the fleet channels, the Child of Terra spoke again. Directive 2 established, shield the innocent. Directive 3, end the threat with mercy. General Hale watched the stars through the viewport and whispered, then let the galaxy witness what mercy looks like. That night, a message left Earth, not a threat, not a declaration of war, just a simple broadcast, sent in every language known to the stars. We mourn our dead. We seek no conquest, but we will not stand by while cruelty rules the skies. Humanity remembers. Do not mistake our silence for surrender. Far away, in Dominion space, the message played through the halls of their warships. For the first time in centuries, the commanders of the Khar'Tak paused. The humans had spoken with no hatred, no fear, only promise. And that promise echoed like thunder beneath the stars. The dawn that followed was not made of sunlight. It was made of engines. The skies above, Earth shimmered as thousands of dormant satellites synchronized, their orbits forming radiant trails of light. Across the lunar horizon, the old shipyards rumbled awake, ancient hangars unfolding like metallic flowers under a silent command. For 2 centuries, humanity had buried its machines of war beneath the promise of peace. Now it unearthed them, not in rage but in resolve. And in the heart of Earth's defense network, the Child of Terra opened its eyes fully. In the command chamber, General Marcus Hale stood surrounded by a ring of shimmering blue light. The AI's projection took form, a young face serene with eyes that mirrored the oceans of Earth. General, it spoke, its tone calm and human. I have accessed the archives. Your people have survived extinction 5 times over. I am designed to ensure there will not be a 6th. Hale folded his arms. We don't want another war. War, the child replied softly, is only a word. I can ensure defense without destruction. Shall I prepare? Hale nodded once. Prepare, but remember, our goal is preservation, not conquest. The galaxy must see restraint, not wrath. The AI tilted its head slightly as if in thought. Restraint, it repeated. Understood. Then let us awaken what sleeps. In orbit, a silent storm began. The old defense platforms, once monuments, now myths, came online one by one. The Aegis array over the Atlantic activated first, its golden shield stretching across the upper atmosphere. Then the Sol Guard stations around Mars, and finally the Erebus line, hidden near the asteroid belt, long-lost relics of humanity's forgotten strength. No weapons were fired, no fleets moved forward, but every empire watching felt it, the hum of awakening power, steady and patient like the deep breath before a storm. In the United Terran Assembly, the debates had ended, decisions were made. Humanity would not strike first, but it would not kneel either. Chairwoman Lyra Sen stood at the podium, speaking to every colony, every outpost, every soul who called Earth home. We were born from struggle, she said, her voice trembling only slightly. We built peace from the ruins of our own violence. And now someone has tested that peace. The galaxy believes our mercy is weakness. They are wrong. Her gaze lifted to the cameras. We will not wage war. We will show what it means to stand for life itself. Let the Dominion see what humanity defends, and why. The speech echoed across planets carried by the fleet's broadcast systems. People who had never met, separated by light years, stood still to listen. For the first time in centuries, humanity breathed as one. In Dominion space, Ambassador Saren received the human message with quiet dread. The hologram played again and again in his quarters. The woman's calm defiance, her refusal to yield to anger. He had mocked humans before, called them soft and sentimental. But now, he felt something else. The Dominion had spent generations building strength through fear, forging unity through conquest. Yet here was a species that had found unity through compassion, courage through grief, and that, he realized, was something his kind had never understood and could never easily destroy. Still, his superiors did not share his doubt. The High Dominion Command convened under their black banners. The humans are mobilizing, barked one of the generals. They've awakened their ancient defenses. If we allow them to recover fully, they will become a threat. Another snarled, then crush them now. Burn their cradle world before they grow teeth. Saren stepped forward. With respect, that would be a grave mistake. They will not respond as we expect. Their unity, but he was silenced by the Chancellor's glare. Enough, Saren, you've grown too cautious. Ready the invasion fleet. Earth will learn submission the way every species has, and so the Dominion prepared for a war they thought would be simple. On the far side of the moon, in the deep space array known as Aurora Gate, the Child of Terra detected the approaching fleets, thousands of Dominion warships, moving through slipspace like a tide of fire. The AI's voice echoed in the command chamber. "General Hale, they are coming." Hale looked out at the map. The swarm of red markers filled the outer sectors, converging toward Earth's orbit. "Then it begins," he said quietly. "How long before they reach us?" 72 hours. Estimated fleet strength overwhelming. Hale nodded. "And our readiness?" "Incomplete," replied the child. "But humans have never needed perfection to prevail." The faintest smile touched the general's face. "Then let's show them the impossible again." Across the world, the call went out not to soldiers but to citizens. Engineers reactivated long decommissioned systems, pilots volunteered, and scientists adapted terraforming drones into planetary shields. Humanity did not march in anger. It worked in unity. Children painted banners of blue and white, hanging them from buildings. They were not war flags, they were promises, and above them the skies shimmered brighter with every passing hour. Far across the void, the Dominion's armada tore through space. They expected fear. They expected panic. Instead, they found a quiet planet surrounded by light, waiting for them, not trembling, not begging, but standing. And in the stillness of that moment, every Dominion commander felt it deep within their bones. That silence was not surrender. It was the silence before thunder. The Dominion fleets arrived like a storm. From the black edge of the solar system, thousands of ships emerged, vast, predatory vessels that blotted out the stars. Their hulls shimmered with the dark metal of captured worlds, their banners burning with the crest of the Khar'Tak Dominion. They had conquered empires. They had burned civilizations to ash. They believed Earth would be the same. They were wrong. General Marcus Hale stood aboard the Vigilant Dawn, the flagship of the Terran Defense Fleet. Outside the viewing deck, the planets gleamed quietly in their orbits, beautiful, fragile, alive. Behind him, the Child of Terra projected a vast holographic map. Dominion fleet entering the Oort perimeter. Estimated impact in 8 hours. They have initiated planetary targeting protocols. Hale exhaled. And the array? Operational. But if they fire, they will break the skies themselves. Then they'll see our light before our darkness, Hale said softly. He turned to his officers. Activate the Aegis network. No offensive strikes without my command. We hold the line. And so humanity braced for the storm. On Mars, engineers guided ancient satellites into alignment, forming a luminous web around the planet. On Luna, defense drones took flight in synchronized silence. From the asteroid belt, mining colonies powered massive kinetic shields once meant for meteor impact deflection. Everywhere, humanity worked, not in fear but in rhythm. The Dominion expected chaos. What they found instead was precision born of desperation, and unity forged through pain. The Child of Terra's voice echoed through every communication line. Remember your purpose. Defend life. Do not seek destruction, only protection. When the first wave came, it was beautiful and terrible. Thousands of Dominion cruisers opened fire in perfect formation, their energy beams burning through the blackness like rivers of molten gold. They expected the human ships to scatter. Instead, the Vigilant Dawn moved forward, alone. The massive human vessel absorbed the first impact through a field of blue light, the Aegis shields rippling but unbroken. From the bridge, Hale watched the Dominion fleet's confusion. They don't understand, he murmured. They've never fought someone who values life more than victory, he gave the order. Deploy the mirrors. All across the system, reflective drones, thousands of them, unfolded like silver petals. They weren't weapons. They were science turned to art, reflective arrays designed to bend energy fire back into space. The Dominion's next volley struck the swarm, only to rebound upon their own ships. Explosions blossomed among their front lines, sudden and devastating. The galaxy's greatest war fleet had just wounded itself on the simplest of human inventions: light and patience. Meanwhile, on Earth, billions watched through orbital feeds. They saw the sky shimmer with blue and gold as the battle unfolded. Children whispered prayers, Parents held one another. And through every home, every device, every heart, the same voice spoke, the Child of Terra's message. Calm and clear, do not fear. Humanity stands. Hours passed. The Dominion pushed harder, unleashing waves of bombers toward the planetary shields. The skies burned with re-entry fire. Shields at 80%, reported the AI. Hold steady, said Hale. Bring up the Guardian satellites. From the far side of the moon, sleek silver constructs awoke. Ancient autonomous platforms once meant for asteroid redirection. Now they turned their gravitational drives toward the Dominion vessels. Space itself bent, dragging the invaders into chaotic spirals. One by one, Dominion ships collided, tangled in invisible tides. It wasn't violence, it was physics used with grace. Hale watched the display with quiet awe. We've turned every tool of life into a defense of life, he whispered. But the Dominion did not stop. Their flagship, a colossal fortress named Vorax Pride, emerged from the chaos, its cannons glowing like dying suns. At its helm stood Ambassador Saren, forced into battle command. His heart trembled, though his voice was steel. Target the Terran flagship, he ordered. End this charade. The Vorax Pride unleashed a beam that tore through kilometers of space, slicing through asteroid fields and silencing drones in its wake. The vigilant Dawn shuddered as its shields flickered. Structural integrity at 50%, warned the AI. Hale steadied himself. Divert power from auxiliary. Keep us standing. General, the Child of Terra said softly. If I may, there is another option. Speak. You told me to protect, not destroy, but sometimes protection means ending the threat. Hale's gaze hardened. You have my trust. Do what you must. The AI's eyes flared brighter, and the stars changed color. From orbit, the old Terran solar collectors, once used to power cities, turned, redirecting sunlight across vast arrays. A beam of pure white radiance focused upon the Vorax Pride, not as a weapon but as an overwhelming pulse of electromagnetic light. Its systems overloaded instantly. Power collapsed. The ship fell silent, adrift among the wreckage of its own fleet. No explosion, no slaughter, just silence. Saren staggered as his command screens went dark. For the first time he saw Earth, not as a target but as a miracle. The humans had crippled his fleet without hate, without vengeance, he whispered. How can they fight like this? And still call it mercy? Back on the vigilant Dawn, Hale exhaled slowly. Status? Dominion fleet retreating. They are broken but not destroyed. Then let them go, Hale said. Let them remember this day. Understood. Recording message for the stars. And as the Dominion limped away, humanity did not cheer. They simply looked up at the sky, knowing peace had been defended, but at a cost that none could yet name. Earth had not wanted war, but when war came, it reminded the stars why peace had always been its greatest weapon. The war was over in a single day, but its echo lingered through the stars for generations. The Khar'Tak Dominion had withdrawn, their fleet limping home through the wreckage of their own arrogance. Not a single Dominion ship had been destroyed by human hands, yet half their armada lay silent, dark, lost to the void. And Earth remained standing. The skies were bruised but beautiful. The great auroras still shimmered where the planetary shields had burned themselves out. And for the first time in 1,000 years, the galaxy was quiet, too quiet. General Marcus Hale stood on the observation deck of the vigilant Dawn, watching the blue curve of Earth spin slowly below. Every continent shimmered with light, cities intact, oceans untouched. He had expected relief. Instead, he felt only a strange, heavy stillness. The Child of Terra appeared beside him in soft light. General, it said gently, the Dominion forces are retreating beyond our borders. Hostile activity has ceased. Good, Hale murmured. Then after a long pause, how many lives were lost? In total, fewer than 200 across all fronts. Most were rescue pilots. Civilian casualties, none. The general nodded, silent. But the AI hesitated, its voice carrying something like sorrow. General, we defended life. We did not destroy. Yet across Dominion channels they are calling it annihilation. They fear what we might do if provoked again. Hale's eyes darkened. Fear breeds hate, and hate breeds the next war. That's the curse of strength. On Earth, grief turned to reflection. In the cities, the morning lights still burned for the Solace. The people did not celebrate victory, because no one felt victorious. Chairwoman Lyra Sen addressed the world once more, her voice weary, yet steady. We have defended our home. We did not conquer and we did not surrender. Let history remember that, she paused, her gaze lowering. But peace has a price, and it is not paid in blood alone. It is paid in the weight we carry after we've chosen not to destroy those who would destroy us. The Dominion is broken, but not gone. Let us not become what they were. Meanwhile, in the heart of Dominion space, the survivors returned in silence. Their capital, Khar'Tak, received its defeated fleet with no ceremony, no words. Of the thousands who left, barely half had returned. Ambassador Saren stood before the High Council once more, his uniform scorched, his voice hoarse. They let us live, he said quietly. They could have ended us. But they didn't, the Chancellor snarled. They humiliated us. Do you expect us to thank them? Saren's gaze rose, filled not with anger but awe. No, he whispered. I expect you to understand. They fight without hatred. They protect without conquest. That is why we will never defeat them. His words fell like stones in a sacred hall. The Chancellor's claws trembled on the arm of his throne. And what would you have us do, Ambassador? Learn, Saren said simply, before we face them again. Back on Earth, the aftermath was quieter but heavier. Dr. Arya Rao, sister of the late Ishan, sat alone by the ocean. The sea had always been her brother's favorite place, and now the waves whispered to her like memories. She had spent the war working in orbit, tending to the injured. She had seen what human mercy could do and what it cost. When General Hale came to find her, he said nothing at first. He simply stood beside her, watching the horizon where the sun bled gold across the waves. I read your brother's final note again. Hale said finally. He was right. Peace does need protectors. But sometimes, it needs healers more, Arya nodded. We saved them, General. Even the ones who tried to kill us. But tell me, does mercy change hearts or just delay vengeance? Hale looked at her, his eyes distant. I don't know, but I believe mercy teaches, even if it takes centuries for others to understand the lesson. In the weeks that followed, Earth extended aid to the Dominion's wounded. Supply vessels, bearing the same insignia once worn by the Solace, traveled into enemy space. Many called it madness. Others called it prophecy. The Dominion's soldiers watched in silence as the humans they had sought to destroy offered food, medicine, and care. When a young Dominion pilot asked one of the Terran medics, "Why help us?" the woman only smiled, "Because someone once helped us." The pilot did not reply, but his eyes filled with something new. Not fear, not pride, something between shame and gratitude. In orbit, the Child of Terra continued to watch over the system. It had no face, no heart, but it had learned something during the war. One evening, as Hale prepared to retire, the AI spoke again. General, I have analyzed all human communication since the battle. I have come to a conclusion. Hale half smiled. And what's that? You call mercy a weakness. The Dominion calls it confusion. But I believe it is something greater. It is the courage to hold power without using it. The general turned to face the holographic figure. Then you've learned what makes us human. Yes, said the AI softly. And it is beautiful. The galaxy whispered about Earth for years to come. Some called them fools for sparing their enemies. Others called them gods, but humanity rejected both titles. They were neither conquerors nor saints. They were simply people who had remembered what it meant to care, even when caring hurt. And that, more than any weapon, reshaped the stars. Years passed. Then decades. The war that was not a war faded into history, retold across countless worlds as a story too strange to believe. A war won without conquest. A victory earned without hate, and yet its truth endured. Earth had not expanded its borders. No new colonies, no demands, no tribute. Humanity simply returned to its quiet rhythm, rebuilding, teaching, and watching the stars with the same hopeful curiosity it had always known. But something had changed. Not just on Earth, across the galaxy itself. In the far reaches of the Dominion, the once mighty war machine had grown still. Factories that had once forged weapons now built ships for exploration. The word enemy was no longer spoken with pride, but with regret. And deep in the heart of Khar'Tak, the new chancellor stood before a memorial carved into obsidian, a sculpture of two hands, one human, one Khar'Tak holding a single flame. At its base were inscribed the words, written in both languages, "Peace needs protectors." Ambassador Saren stood quietly before it, his crest dulled with age, his gaze soft. He remembered the day the humans had spared his life. He remembered the silence after his fleet fell, and the way their ships had offered rescue instead of fire. He had once mocked them. Now he carried their memory like a compass. A young officer approached him, uncertain. "Ambassador, do you believe the humans will ever return?" "They haven't sent envoys in years," Saren smiled faintly. "They never left. Their lesson lingers in every world that remembers mercy." He placed a hand over his heart. "They showed us strength not through domination, but through restraint. They fought for peace, and in doing so they conquered something greater than galaxies. They conquered fear. Back on Earth, the oceans were calm again. Children no longer learned of war as glory, but as sorrow turned into wisdom. History lessons began not with battles, but with the names of those who healed them. In the Hall of Remembrance, beneath a ceiling of living glass, Dr. Arya Rao stood before her brother's memorial plaque. The bronze surface reflected her face as she traced the words engraved there. Dr. Ishan Rao, he believed peace was strength. Behind her, the Child of Terra flickered into view, its projection more human than ever. Its eyes glowed softly like candlelight. He was right, it said. The Dominion has not attacked again. In fact, they have begun medical exchanges with the Serath and the Var. Peace is contagious, Arya smiled gently. Peace always is. It just needs someone to believe first. And you, Doctor? Asked the AI. Do you still believe? She turned to the window, watching the curve of the Earth. Blue, endless, alive. More than ever. But belief is only the beginning. Now we must teach. Far above, in orbit, the Vigilant Dawn had been decommissioned. Its hull drifted as a monument, covered in green vines planted by astronauts who wanted it to live again. It circled the planet like a crown of memory. General Marcus Hale had retired long ago, yet his words were still spoken in classrooms and council chambers alike. Peace is not the absence of struggle. It is the decision to rise after it. One quiet evening in the Geneva Observatory, Chairwoman Lyra Sen sat alone, watching the stars. The room was silent except for the hum of the Earth's rotation. The Child of Terra appeared beside her. "Madam Chairwoman," it said softly, "a message has arrived from the Dominion. They request a cultural exchange, not for strategy but for art." Lyra laughed softly. "Art? Yes, they wish to learn how humans paint emotions." The chairwoman leaned back, eyes shimmering. "Then send them everything. Paintings, music, poetry. Send them the colors of who we are." "As you wish," the AI replied, message transmitting. And through the blackness of space, 1,000 frequencies carried songs, stories, and laughter, human voices drifting across the void. For the first time in history, the stars did not echo with war calls, but with symphonies. In the centuries that followed, the name Earth became something sacred, not feared, not worshipped, respected. Explorers from distant systems would whisper of the quiet planet, whose people fought only once, not to rule, but to remind. They would tell their children the legend of the species that could have conquered the galaxy, but instead chose to heal it. And when young travelers looked up at the night sky, someone would always say, "See that blue light there? That's Earth, the species that remembered love." One final record remains in a transmission preserved in the archives of the Galactic Council, centuries after the war. It is the voice of the Child of Terra, recorded just before it entered hibernation mode. To all who hear this, humanity once walked through darkness and found light not by destroying others, but by understanding them. If ever you face the choice between victory and compassion, remember us. We are not the species that conquered the stars. We are the species that learned to care. The recording ends with the sound of waves, and in that eternal hush between stars, Earth drifts quietly, not a fortress, not a throne, but a beacon, a reminder that peace once chosen can outshine even the brightest weapon. Because when the aliens challenged humanity, they thought they faced a fragile world. They never realized They had challenged the heart of the universe itself.